Today, let's go over the topic how to improve your storytelling skills. So, firstly, why are storytelling skills important, and zoom into the moment. So, storytelling is really important because it's one of the most powerful tools to hook listeners and keep them listening to what you have to say and get them actually really engaged. So, firstly, it's you should zoom into the moment instead of just summarizing the events, and let the listener be part of the physical moment and not just describe it in surface level. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 techniques on how you can achieve this. So firstly is location. So where are you, and state the location and where you are physically. For example, like a living room or a school. This means that the audience will then start to visualize their version of that location, because everybody has their own idea of what a living room or what a school looks like. So don't give too much detail, and as long as they can visualize it, it's fine, because it's easier for them to visualize their own version of it. And this is really important because, for example, in detective books, Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, I think. And then basically it's really important that it's on a train, because it means that it's in an enclosed space, which means that the murderer has to be one of the passengers, because nobody can get on and no one can get off, which really makes the reader understand that. And secondly is actions. So what are you doing in the moment? So yeah, what are you doing in this specific moment, and state your actions using verbs. And this brings in forwards momentum and pushes the story on, and it also takes the listener into the moment and gets straight to the most important part, so that you're not wasting time. And this is really important, because if the audience thinks that you're just wasting their time and you don't get straight to the point, then it means that they might just zone out and stop listening to your story. So for example, you could if you had not done your homework the night before, and then suddenly the teacher called you into his office and you're waiting outside of the room, instead of just saying, oh, I was waiting outside the teacher's room and I was really nervous, you could say, I was pacing back and forth and my hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, and I was going my thoughts were running crazy about what the teacher could have possibly called me in for, and I was taking really deep breaths, and yeah. And then maybe when the teacher called me in, instead of saying, oh, I was really nervous, instead just say, I was trying to find an excuse and I was really panicking with lots of hesitation of why I didn't do my homework. Thirdly is thoughts. So what are you thinking? Because humans have thousands of thoughts every day, so share some of those thoughts with your audience about the crucial moment. And so it's for example, if you just had a presentation and you had made a few mistakes in it, instead of saying, I was very disappointed in my presentation, you could say, I thought, oh no, this is really bad, I made so many mistakes and everyone's going to think I'm stupid now and I can never go back and say anything again. So this actually is just a tiny tweak, but it makes it much more interesting, because it makes it it's raw and unfiltered, so it makes it much more relatable to the audience, and if they'd ever been in that situation before, they'd probably have really similar thoughts as well. And a common mistake that many people make is that they often use thoughts that sound too professional or intellectual, because nobody actually thinks like that. Whenever we think, we usually just use basic words, and if it's too intellectual, professional, it makes it sound unrealistic and unbelievable, and the audience can no longer relate with you. Fourthly is emotions. So what are you feeling? So the best stories will take the audience on an emotional journey. So don't just state what happened with words, but because it's not actually visual and it means the audience can't actually picture what's going on. But instead, show what emotion you're feeling by describing how your body language and expressing it on your body face, and describing the actions. So for example, instead of saying he was anxious, you could say he kept tapping his pen and leaning back on his chair and glancing at the clock and like furrowing his brows, which shows that he was anxious without you having to say so, because the audience will like immediately know, and they can actually picture the character tapping his pen or like glancing at the clock, because those are actions and it takes them into the specific moment. Lastly is dialogue. So what are you hearing and what did the character say in the crucial moment of the story, and use like the exact words instead of just a summary, or like instead of just a summary of what they said, and because it makes it more interesting. And remember to like choose engaging dialogue and don't just include the whole entire like conversation, and only use the parts that are like concise and catchy, so that the audience doesn't get like bored and they keep like staying engaged. So for example, if you just gone with your friend like Jake and you were watching this you just finished watching this movie, let's say it's like Avatar, and he was saying how like the plot wasn't that good and they used like lots of CGI, and he like didn't really like the movie, and you had an argument about that. Instead of just saying, oh, he didn't really like the movie because it used too much like technology, instead you could say he said the movie is like used lots of technology and CGI and effects, but the plot wasn't very good and I don't think it made much sense. Then that actually makes it like the audience more invested into the moment because they actually know what he said. So in conclusion,